getting started. I wanted to start first with why this is actually important. Evaluation criteria are what helps your city narrow down the responses you get, and it also helps the developers provide you with the best information up front. So they're a really key part of this RFP. I want to start with first benefits to the city or county. It makes you have a conversation around what's important to you ahead of time, and it kind of helps you align on what those key criteria are that you're going to be evaluating these projects on before getting the bids back, so that your team is all on the same page. It also allows for more apples to apples bids, which are simpler to compare than if you had a wide variety of evaluation criteria and developers are sending you all different kinds of projects. In that similar vein, it allows for, it limits the number and the variety of the bids from the developers that you actually have to review. They understand what you're looking for, and so therefore can streamline their responses. On the developer side, I used to work for a renewable energy developer and did help respond to some RFPs, so I feel these very strongly, but it streamlines pricing and modeling. Clear kind of outlines of what types of projects you want allow developers to run, the exact 5 scenarios that you're interested in, not running, the 200 that are potentially out there. It enables them, they have a long, usually pipeline of projects, this is for offsite, that they are working on at any given time. And so it allows them to look into that pipeline and really pick the project that most meets the city's needs and put their best foot forward. Oftentimes the criteria provide transparency around if you in your city or county are prioritize local businesses or prioritize developers who partner with local businesses, and that also helps them write their RFPs. And lastly, it allows the developers to be creative and demonstrate their strengths. We will have some developers joining us for the 3rd session this afternoon. I think this is one thing that when we kind of met with them beforehand to talk through this, was one thing they really prioritize, and we should ask about it. They want to show you what they think could be a best solution for your goals, and so understanding exactly what you're going to be evaluating them on and exactly what it matters to the city allows them to creatively think through the different strategies that they have that you might not know about, that they can then respond to your RFP with. So evaluation criteria should be built off the project motivations that you guys just talked through in the last session. You saw kind of a table similar to this, and I think what this shows is that you want to take the motivations and then flip them into kind of quantitative or qualitative criteria that you can use to compare these different responses. So for climate goals, a lot of you talked about that being a main motivation. Thinking through what kind of criteria helps you see if the developers understand or demonstrate how the projects they are helping you with or proposing help you reach your sustainability and climate goals. Economics, as we saw on the first slide, price is a big driver for a lot of you. Can the developer offer terms that meet your economic priorities, whether that's maximizing immediate or annual savings, or is it just the largest savings over time? Are you interested in providing price stability or a price hedge? So thinking through what you want to evaluate them against and laying that out so that they can, you can see how they answer that question. Job creation and public health. Will the developer be an effective partner in meeting your broader social goals? Preference for local businesses, as I mentioned, are there criteria around priority for partnering with local businesses or local business partners? Company track record, how does this one look at how the respondent stacks up against the other different respondents, and this can vary depending on what you put in it. Are you most interested in developers that have the highest number of projects in your region? I think some of you had said developers who had worked with local governments in the past. So is that kind of the key priority for you here? Or is it the similar size or profile of the project that you want to be developing? And last, visibility. This is mainly for an on-site project since it will be in your community, but do the developers make an effort to include this visibility aspect of their proposal through integration into your city or county website, through having kind of real live data, or provide solar kiosks. So while exact evaluation criteria and format may vary, and we're going to show you a few examples after this, many cities and counties tend to include common themes. The first one is cost effectiveness. I think you saw that. There's some sort of evaluation criteria around the city not paying more money, or the city wanting to hedge its current power price, or kind of have stability in their power prices. Second one, developer qualifications and experience. As we were just talking about, is the city or county interested in developers who have been around for a long time? Are they interested in developers who are local and know the market and the process for permitting, et cetera? Financial strength. This comes through in regards to construction financing and long-term, who's going to own the project? Do they have financing lined up? Project characteristics and feasibility. This is a big one. It is, for offsite, you're asking for a type of project. You're not asking for a specific project. So what are the different characteristics of the project, and they meet your priorities? For on-site, they're providing kind of responses to the sites that you've put up. So do you think that these responses are actually feasible, and the timelines and the technology that they've proposed is actually going to work? Talk theory as one, especially for on-site, use waiting period to emphasize priorities and add transparency. San Diego is the first example we use. They released an on-site solar RFP in 2019. As you can see here, they have a pretty high level summary of their criteria, but cost effectiveness was 70 points. The rest had 10, but what you really see here is that the project that's going to win is probably going to be the one that is the most cost effective. Fairfax released a RFP in 2020, and in contrast, while cost effectiveness here is still the highest rated category, it's much more evenly split between the technical approach and timeline and qualifications as well. And I just wanted to flag that sometimes people don't use weighting criteria. I think in offsite projects, it's definitely less common than it is for onsite, because that gives you a little bit more flexibility. For offsite projects, it's a little bit less clear cut what you're going to get, because you're not proposing 8 buildings that they must respond to with the sizes that you already know. You're asking for a type of project, and people are going to send you projects all over a region of different technologies, et cetera. So this isn't necessarily you must wait and prioritize your criteria, but it is something that you should think about and talk through, because it is an important thing to get right if you do want to weight them. And then the last example, I think the more detailed you can be, the easier it will be for developers to respond and for you to evaluate. So this one example we're going to walk through is an offsite RFP that DC released in 2013. They, again, had pretty high level categories around cost, qualifications, developer strength, project characteristics, additionality, and then local small and disadvantaged business enterprises got an additional 5 points. But I thought one thing that was really interesting in their RFP was this section on their evaluation page. There's a lot of text here, so I'll kind of summarize what it says. But in addition to the weighting of those 6 categories on the left, there's also an additional 12 points that that the people could get from the RFP if they were a local, small, or disadvantaged business enterprise. And they actually awarded specific points for different types of businesses. So this is kind of on the one end of the spectrum of being super clear and super detailed, to the fact that the developer might be able to calculate their own score and really understand. And again, as I mentioned, their You know, not everyone may want to get this detailed, but this does make the process very transparent. So that's a benefit. The negative, the downside is that gives you a lot less flexibility once you've received your responses, because the criteria are so clear. You don't really have the flexibility to kind of look at what you've got and see if something that is more creative and outside the box, what you were thinking, may actually fit your needs better. It might not be calculated for in that criteria. The last thing I'm going to run through quickly, I'm going to highlight it just because Michael's in our offsite session, so he'll talk through it a little bit more, is the RFP that Cincinnati released last year. And if Michael, if I'm getting anything wrong, feel free to call me out. I wanted to showcase this example because it was a good example of being fairly specific, and it linked to a bunch of different sections in their RFP where they expanded on their goals and preferences and really outlined what they wanted. It was also an RFP that included both offsite and onsite renewable generation. So I'll scroll through. I kind of pulled excerpts from their criteria because it was fairly long. Their first one, and they said it's not ranked in order of importance: responsiveness and completeness, financial strength and stability, previous development and references, offer of customer service and maintenance capabilities, the technical strength of the site-specific proposal, so that's related to the specific on-site systems that they had included in the RFP, the proposed PPA terms and arrangement, so this is the price, the term, the different project-specific criteria, and then economic inclusion. And so, like I said, these were pretty detailed. I tried to pull out the key phrases. But one thing we wanted to flag was this: including the compliance with all items listed in the scope of services and statement of qualifications. If you actually go to that page, you'll see that it gets even more detailed. So the minimum requirements is they must develop at least 3 megawatts of generating capacity. The required COD and the size, they are looking for 35,000 megawatt hours annually. Construction of the arrays, certain arrays must be done by the end of 2019, others must be done by the end of 2020. If it's a VPPA, they're interested in settling at the hub to reduce price risk. They're examining the minimum market price or a price floor, which is a way to mitigate risk. And then on the economic inclusion side, they have a section that must describe the offeror's strategy for economic inclusion. And so that is kind of forcing the developer to really think about that issue because it's something that's important to the city. So last thing I wanted to flag is the valuation team. And I think this could be a really interesting thing for you to discuss with Carrie and Michael in your breakout groups. I wanted to first start with a quote from Heather Bullock, who's the Energy and Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Charlotte. She couldn't join us today, but I wanted to share some thoughts that she had on this subject. She said one really great piece of advice that she got was to make the team representative of both upper management and the different departments. So taking a little bit from what the Charlotte's team looked like, they had someone from the sustainability team, but they also had for on-site, they'll have a facilities manager, someone from procurement, someone from finance, legal, and then you're thinking through who is going to be the one to actually be able to get this project in front of the mayor or the city council, whoever is kind of moving forward with that. But thinking through all of the different people that are involved. And so like Heather said, after the RFP, when it came to the approvals process, it was so much easier to get the people on board because they had done all of the pre-work and education, so it wasn't foreign to them at that time. So just those are some high level groups, but wanted to really flag that it's not just the sustainability or energy team that's bringing this forward. It's going to touch a bunch of different departments.